wasn't playing the first two games.
That's right. Okay, so let's go there. Philly eliminates Boston in Game 7. Jayson Tatum does not play in Game 7.
Obviously huge.
Huge, but a tricky thing because he was healthy, then he was hurt. Obviously doesn't play in a Game 7.
Knee soreness. That's what the official diagnosis was. Knee soreness.
But the way you said it, go ahead.
Stiffness, some say.
The only reason I'm saying it like that is because as you're watching us on ESPN2 right now, you see Jayson Tatum, who is in street clothes. And look, this guy went through hell to get back on the court. Separate injury. It was his Achilles that ruptured less than a year ago at this point, and he was back by March. The reason I say it kind of tongue-in-cheek is because you've got Joel Embiid at one point in the third quarter getting stretched out on the right side of his body, the man who had an appendectomy 20-something days ago, and he's given it everything. The most brittle player in the NBA, because you can never bank on his health. He's given it everything he has and playing through that. Like, just the juxtaposition when they would show them side by side of what Joel Embiid looked like with trainers around him, literally on the ground in front of the bench, and then Jayson Tatum looking kind of ho-hum there, sitting on the bench himself in street clothes.
Are you suggesting that you think Jayson Tatum should have done more to play?
I'm suggesting that, and look, I'm never going to question anyone's injuries, especially somebody who just came back from something incredibly significant, but there was a big difference between the stuff that Joel Embiid was gutting through yesterday and Jayson Tatum, who had played every single game, more or less, outside of the not playing on the back end of back-to-backs in the regular season since he came back. For him to be sitting on the bench there, for then all of a sudden Joe Mazzulla's brain to stop working because of what it did to the lineups that he decided, let's right now tinker with lineups with three guys who had never played together during the regular season. And by the way, all finished with goose eggs in the scoring column. That's where my mind goes. That is exactly where my mind goes, of thinking how the 76ers had the grit and the toughness. When you could have written them off because of the injuries, they ended up using that to their advantage to grind this thing out to 7 and to win it.
Okay, a lot there. First of all, the 76ers deserve all the credit in the world. Joel Embiid and this group, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, they deserve all the credit in the world for gutting it out during this series. Before the win on Saturday, the 76ers had gone 0-18, which is an NBA record, when trailing 3-1 in a series. And Boston was 32-0 when holding a 3-1 series lead. This was an incredibly improbable series win for them, and good for them. They deserve it. But I don't think just because we're seeing scenes of Joel Embiid being stretched out and writhing in agony and Jayson Tatum sitting there in a beautiful gray outfit that he didn't want to play or that he should have done more to play. This guy, as you mentioned, Courtney, did everything he could to make sure that he could come back as soon as possible at the end of the season to be there for this team because he's a competitor. And the Celtics were in a really good spot because he went and did everything that he could to come back out on the floor so that they could be in this position. And I know it was right before the game where they got this news about JT, and as you mentioned, Joe Mazzulla tactically had some puzzle pieces that he had to figure out that did not work. From the jump, they got put at a deficit. It was an uphill battle for them the entire game. But Jayson Tatum always gets criticized for everything he does when the Boston Celtics fall up short. Even when they win, he gets criticized. He doesn't celebrate correctly. It's Jaylen Brown's team. Oh, maybe he should have done more to play. He doesn't look so sullen. He shouldn't have done this after the game. It's like no matter what he does, he cannot get enough credit. Or he gets maligned in some way.
It's Game 7, Michelle. Come on. It's Game 7.
Well, the medical staff and everyone involved said that he shouldn't go.
I don't question someone's injury. I question the fact that it's Game 7. This is not the same injury. If this was a calf injury, we're talking a completely different thing because we know calf and Achilles and the Kevin Durant of it all a couple years ago of him forcing his way back too early. This was knee stiffness, something that had not bothered him throughout the other games that he played in this series. And then I'm not going to... Body language is one thing. Him and Joel Embiid and Jayson Tatum after the game, dapping it up, acting like they're friends and everything, when we were very clearly seeing how a team just got their soul snatched. He looked pretty happy in that moment. I didn't like the look of that. I did not at all. I understand you guys are friends. Be friends off the court. Your team just lost in 7. They were up 3-1. This season is an utter failure for the Boston Celtics because of how this whole thing played out, and to not have your star of stars out there, and for the discourse around it. His own teammate included, teammate, not saying teammates, because Jaylen Brown's catching a lot of strays, and rightfully so, for the things that he was saying on a live stream that would intimate he felt he played better this season because Jayson Tatum wasn't there. I just don't like the way that this looked out, because that's going to be my lasting memory. Jayson Tatum sitting on the bench in a Game 7 when his team absolutely needed him, and somebody else who just went through a massive surgery 3 weeks ago was out there giving it his all. I don't like the look of it at all. The optics suck. That is, if you are listening to us in Boston right now, I guarantee 9 out of 10 people are going to feel the exact same way that I do, not seeing him out there.
Those are the actions. Jaylen Brown, as Courtney mentioned, had some words last night. We will get to those after Small says this from Sherwin-Williams.
That's right. In sports, Evan, the best team.
3-1 previously. Not so great. But here, let's take a look. Let's spin it forward. Eastern Conference semi previews here between the Sixers and the Knicks. They split the season series 2-2. Philadelphia seeking their first conference final appearance since 2001, while the Knicks are seeking back-to-back conference finals appearances for the first time since 1999. And with that, we'll go ahead and welcome in our guy, John Henson, along with Noah Buono. Guys, despite the Sixers knocking off the Celtics, who were favorites to come out of the East, the Knicks now heavily favored in this series at -275. And I was looking earlier this morning, the public is all over this. 70% of the market is backing the Knicks here. Even the analytics, including Sportsline, leaning to that side as well. John, I'm going to start with you. How are you going to play this series?
I was looking at the lines. Everything's a little juiced. I mean, Knicks -1.5 at -145 would probably be my play if I had to do something. We got to see the status of Embiid. He looked like he was banged up towards the end of that game. And just them beating the Celtics, just a bad matchup, right? Celtics cut costs, and it came back to bite them. Embiid comes back. I mean, come on, you have Jaylen Brown guarding Embiid. This next series is going to be different, right? You've got Mitchell Robinson. You've got Karl Towns. Is Jalen Brunson going to be able to defend? Tyrese Maxey, I think, is going to be the question. I'm sure they'll have to try to hide him, similar to like how Boston used to try to hide IT back in the day. I think the Knicks are going to have to start doing that with Maxey and those two guard Edgecombe. However, I do like the Knicks to win this series. I think the 76ers are they're valued a little higher than they should be because they just beat the Celtics. But the Celtics didn't have Tatum, and I think that really affected them this last game. So, yeah, Knicks -1.5, -145. Keep it simple, 4-2 type series, and Knicks go to the East Conference Finals.
I also think it probably goes a minimum of 6 games. I think the Knicks have showed they're susceptible to losing, some matchups here and there. And remember, they played 2 years ago in 2024. It was a little bit of a different Knicks roster. DiVincenzo and Hartenstein were still on the team. Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges were not. But that series went to 6 games. Tyrese Maxey had a brilliant Game 5. He had 46 in Madison Square Garden, back against the wall. I think he had 9 points in the final 30 seconds or the final minute. So he's kind of showed he's built for these moments. This series, it's crazy that we've only gotten 3 tri-state area Knicks versus Sixers playoff matchups over the last 40-plus years. So it's really cool that we have this matchup. I do think overall it's hard to fade the Knicks, especially when you watch them in Game 6 versus Atlanta just absolutely decimate them. So it'd be kind of ludicrous to go against them, but I would not be surprised if Philly could push this to a 6-game series, maybe even a 7-game. All that's going to really depend on how healthy is Joel Embiid, how much can he give you, because John just mentioned it. He was banged up in Game 7. He had a scare in Game 6 in the middle of the third quarter. Like, I just don't know how many times someone can roll into the back of this guy's leg and hyperextend his knee. Like, I'm tired of watching it. I feel horrible for him. Why is he in the wrong place at the wrong time, seemingly always? So hopefully he can just stay out there, because when he's out there, Tyrese Maxey's going to do his thing. But that 1-2 tandem that we're finally able to see, and Paul George not even needing to be a second or third option. He had 13 points yesterday. He didn't even know he's out there. He hit a couple nice shots. So I think Philly's got a chance, but the odds here are correct.
Yeah, Embiid just can't